Welcome, guys. This is episode 5 of our male mental health talks. I am very excited about this. I'm glad that we're keeping this going. We have a lot more coming as well. These are necessary. We put these together as a way to have our male community and female community. We have a lot of female listeners as well who jump on here and just we really dive into what it looks like to practice mental health and the practices that we can incorporate today to really do that internal healing and the things that we can start doing to deal with difficult situations as well. But today I have my friend RJ. He's currently in Asia. Interesting talk. Let's see if the internet it's on our side today. And we're gonna be talking about basically embracing the uncomfortables. How are you doing, RJ? How are you doing,
What's up?
brother?
What's up, man? How are you, man?
I'm doing fantastic. It's nighttime out there, huh?
It is, man. It's dark. We got the lights going, but it's dark out here. So
Okay, I got you. Yeah, we got like a 12 hour difference, something like that, probably a little bit bigger.
yeah, it's 11, man. It's currently let me double check. It is what 12? It's midnight.
Midnight, okay. Thank you for
Midnight.
doing it this time. I appreciate you, for real. Yeah, it's 10 a.m. here, so that's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. For
No,
real.
it's all good. We know that we had to run this back, man. It's been a while. I think the people seem to be gravitating towards it. I of course appreciated working with you, having these conversations. I think that it seems like people have gotten a lot of value from it, so that of course makes me more excited. So let's do it, man. Let's put another one in the books.
Let's do it. I 100% agree. I've gotten a lot of messages from people who have shared some of our talks with their family members, who are like seeing some of our talks, and that's the whole intention. We want people to
Absolutely.
be exposed to these conversations, to be exposed to this kind of verbiage that we're going to be using, and really move away from male mental health being taboo or weird. It's all about it, going back to the truth and knowing that that's just human and necessary for us to have these conversations. And today's topic, it's necessary also. Like that's a must. Because that's something that I personally struggle with in the past. I used to fight the uncomfortable a lot. I'm not gonna lie, but today we're gonna be talking about embracing the uncomfortable, and we're
Yes,
gonna be
sir.
talking about the importance of being uncomfortable and what does that have to do with personal development, personal growth, healing, and of course from a psychological standpoint, of course. So I'm glad that I have you on here. If you're just joining us now, this is our fifth talk actually. RJ's he's a registered mental health practitioner and therapist from Florida, and he is incredibly knowledgeable. He's been in the field for years and years and years. He's worked with all kinds of populations. Specifically, he focuses on men of color, and I know he loves to work with the younger population as well. So we definitely try to make it, we try to have these conversations in a way that anyone can understand, not using a lot of like really tough like psychology language, anything like that. Just keeping it simple and giving you a lot of practical tools that you can use today so that you can start seeing some positive changes in your life.
Yes. Well said.
Thanks.
Let's go, man. Let's go. I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's do it. All right. So let's dive right in. Can you fully avoid being uncomfortable? Like, can you fully just never be uncomfortable?
Okay. Great first question.
Right.
Can you?
Yeah.
Can you? Okay?
Mhm.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You can. Better question. I would say, or maybe we add on to that, right? Should you?
Ooh.
Should you avoid being uncomfortable? No.
There you go.
No.
There it is.
All of us should not. Carlos has said it so many different ways. If you guys haven't heard in some of these calls, Carlos has done a really good job of making this point. We sit in those feelings. We allow ourselves to experience them even when they're uncomfortable. Both Carlos and I have touched on that, especially when it comes to things like relationships, right? When the fallout from them. not just simply glossing over what has occurred because I want to get to the next thing or I want to get to feeling better. We understand that embracing that bit of discomfort in sitting in those emotions is what's going to ultimately allow me to feel better down the road, right? But I can't skip past that part. Like you've made that point before. I hope for those of you that have been on these talks before, you've heard Carlos say that before. So it's very important. We need to echo that same point.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people do choose to escape. So let's talk to the men here.
Yep.
We tend to escape and run and avoid. But it's not because I think that we don't want to deal with our feelings. It's because we're raised in environments where it's so uncomfortable to ever embrace or address them that we largely learn to just escape them. That could be smoking, drinking, engaging in other activities that help us to not deal with those underlying root causes that make us feel bad, that make us feel down, that make us sad, that make us whatever those negative feelings are. And so it is possible, because if it wasn't possible, I wouldn't really need a job, because everybody would just run from their problems and everything would work. So the truth is, people can run, but eventually it will catch up with you. You probably will find that you're making a lot of the same mistakes, whether it be with friendships, family, romantic partners, all of the above. That's when we got to challenge ourselves and say, hey, I might need to try a different approach, because trying to just skip this part is not giving me any good result.
I love that metaphor you use of like, hey, you can run and run away, but like you probably still have like a rope attached to those problems. Like they're literally they're literally there right now. And I see my friend Jackie on here. She's asking, how long should we sit in those feelings?
Good.
What would you say? What would you say to that?
No, it's a good question. So I would say it depends on the context of what it is that we're dealing with, right? So I'll give like a practical example. Let's go back to like a romantic relationship, right? So let's say you were in a situation where you were with somebody for a year or more, right? Pretty significant. We would consider that a more serious relationship. Is it reasonable that you should expect to feel better in a week? No. Is it reasonable that you should probably feel better in a month? No. The context of it is it's going to be specific to you and the situation that you're in. But you got to understand that depending on what you're talking about, if it's something you've been struggling with for a really long time, do not set yourself up for disappointment by thinking that it's going to be able to be resolved quickly. Because very rarely is that the case. Sometimes it is small. Sometimes it could be relatively small. It could be me and Carlos are talking. I misinterpreted what he said, so I kind of got in my feelings a little bit. So I sat with it maybe for a few hours, and I was like, you know what? Let me call this brother and ask him what he meant, because I might be mislooking at the situation. I talked to him. He says, you know what, bro? I get where you're coming from. That's not how I meant it. Bet. Okay, cool. I need to check myself now. And now all those negative feelings that I had, we can put them to the wayside now. Now I don't even got to worry about them. We can just keep it moving. So it does depend on like the specific situation that we're referring to. So if you want to give like an example, like a little more of a caveat, we can go into that. But I would say it depends on how serious of the feeling we're talking about and how long you've been dealing with it, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. And I also I want to like piggyback on what you're saying as well, because a lot of us get really attached to an expectation of time, and this is stuff that we have a hard time measuring, because like you say, RJ, like it's really going to be up to you and where you are in your own healing. So for us to like even start like, oh, like in a week I want to feel good, like that creating that expectation is basically like, just like you said, is setting yourself up for failure. Because what if that week passes and you're still struggling with those feelings and those emotions? So it's more about like literally fill them as long as you need, as long as you feel like definitely. And you'll be able to tell, like you start feeling the detachment. You start really noticing, um, like the outcomes that you're getting. You're gonna start reacting differently as well. So it takes time, and for everyone's different. Definitely don't
Mhm.
compare yourself, and
Yes.
definitely try to move away as much as possible from expectations. It's basically pretty impossible to not have any expectations. That's what we do as humans. So
Facts,
at the
man.
end of the day, yeah. So at the end of the day, it's more about like, okay, being aware of the expectations you're having, and like making sure that you're not expecting anything from the healing. To bring it back to a point that you brought up in the past, is it's like if you have a cut again,
Hmm.
like you're okay, I'm gonna heal right now. Like no, like it's gonna heal at its own time or whatever time it needs to
Right,
heal.
right.
And especially depending on how much time you're dedicating to the healing as well. Because if you're doing 1 minute of meditation every day and you're like, I don't know why the 20 years of trauma that I had, they're not healed yet.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
well, that's,
Well
let's keep
said.
it real. Let's keep it real.
No, absolutely, man. I think that's so important. It's just, and it's, I love that you said that. Like, even when we just talk about expectations, right? To me, like when we talk about like sitting in the discomfort and, embracing these things that we're uncomfortable with, I would almost say like I want us to not have any expectation other than I have to go through this journey. I have to go through this process, whatever that might entail. If I'm willing to commit to that process and really do what is going to be necessary, at the end of it, I won't feel like I feel right now. Like if we want to make it very, very simple, if I go through the process and I go through these steps, when I'm done, I am not going to feel like I feel right now. Maybe right now I feel like crap, or I'm sad, or I feel depressed, or I'm lonely, or I don't like the way that I look, or whatever the situation may be. But if I stay the course, I will be better at the end of this process. But like I like the example that you gave. Sometimes we want the quick fix, or we start to see a little bit of change. Like okay, maybe I can stop now. And it's like no, that's not exactly how it works. You really got to keep going if you want to. I usually use the expression. It's kind of like the unresolved issues that we have. It's like imagine you have like a bag on your back, or you're dragging one like a sled, right? And it's full of bricks.
Hmm.
And all the bricks are your pain and your trauma and your hurt. It's all that stuff that you never dealt with. And you might not notice it, but you're actually dragging it with you everywhere that you go, in every situation that you're in. The better way to deal with that is I need to drop that stuff off, but I slowly have to work the process little by little. I have to work to remove a lot of those stressors of what I'm facing, of what I'm dealing with. So the point is with the expectations, let's keep those to a minimum so that we just focus on going through the motions so that way we can get through the process and ultimately feel better.
I love it. I love it. You got to do the work. In other words, you got to do the work. You can't microwave this process. I'm stealing your words from our
Oh.
past talk. You can't microwave it. You just can't.
Mm.
That's
Mm.
beautifully said. Like I always use
Sure
that
thing.
now. I'm like, yeah, you can't microwave the process. Like that's how it works. So I
Yeah.
think, um, yeah. All right, cool.
Are you reading the comment?
Yeah, I'm reading a comment real quick. I'll read it out. He says, if someone who's never, oh, you can read it too?
Oh, I can. If someone who suffers from depression feels he should hold on to sad feelings, for example, when he thinks of his parents dying, okay. No, I mean that would be, I would say, a normal experience. So let me add like a caveat there. So embracing uncomfortable also means that we want to experience real, valid emotions. If I lose a parent, right? Like I lost my mom when I was really young. If I lose a parent, that's a very reasonable expectation to be sad. Like let's be clear here. If I lose a friend, my pet, whatever, it's reasonable to be hurt. It's reasonable to be sad. It's reasonable to have low motivation, low desire to do a lot of the things that maybe we used to do. That is totally fair. When it starts to become problematic is when I stop living because of that event. I lose my mom. I lose my dad. I lose my brother. Is it traumatic? Absolutely. But I got to do my work. I have to figure out, not only reconcile how I feel about them not being here anymore, like we all have to do, but how do I learn to move forward? Because simply existing and surviving should be nobody's goal. That should be nobody's goal. I want us to live.
Yep.
And trust me, you're talking to somebody, for those of you that are watching, I've experienced a lot of loss from very early on in life. I've had to deal with this for a majority of my life, not because I'm an expert, but I understand that moments like Jackie pointed out, it will happen to all of us, right? So we have to find ways to learn how to cope with that. So if you're feeling sad because something happened to you recently, that is totally fair and appropriate to feel those feelings. But I also want us to learn and surround ourselves, like we've talked about before, with a good support system. So we have people to lean on, like, hey man, I need to get out of my house. I don't really have the motivation to leave. Carlos likes to go out a lot. I need to reach out to him because he'll probably help me get out of my own way and help me start to regain healthy functioning, getting back to living my life, not simply just being here. If that makes sense.
That makes complete sense. Yeah, and to piggyback on that, like it's all of our feelings are valid. So we should definitely feel them, but we also have the choice to decide if we're gonna let them basically drive our entire life and like just keep us in this depression hole, or if we're actually, like you said, like gonna reach out and step out of that. Right? If sometimes we can't do it on our own, like definitely, like it helps to reach out to someone who actually can maybe get you out of that cycle or even that mindset. So I think that was beautiful. Yeah, I was beautifully said for sure. I was beautifully said for sure. Yeah, and it's all love, Jackie. It's all love. So
yeah, please feel free, whoever is, ask questions, comment, right? This is we're having open dialogue, so feel free to.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point of these, for sure. That's the whole point. So yeah, that's what we're here for. So my next question is, how are personal development and being and feeling uncomfortable connected, in your opinion? How do they work together, or do they even work together in any way?
Sure. I mean, I would say, well, let me put a positive spin on things. So I always like to do a positive way to give us encouragement, right? I think we can take the uncomfortableness of, let's say, going through difficult experiences. Actually, I'm going to use Jackie's example because I've had to do this one a lot. This is a personal example. This is how I personally chose to understand loss. So hopefully this connects with somebody out there. And this could be anybody, your mom, your dad, your sibling, whoever. So you go through the initial feeling of shock that they're not here anymore for whatever the circumstance was, right? Then there comes this point where I'm kind of like in limbo maybe. I'm trying to understand, now that they're not here, depending on my relationship to them, what does moving forward even look like? Like, it's hard for me to even envision what that looks like, right? What I try to think about, and maybe for anybody who's gone through this, maybe you might agree with this point. I like to believe that those people that we have lost do not want us to simply sit in this lived experience only thinking about the past and only sitting with the fact that they're not here. I like to believe that those people that we've lost that probably loved us and cared about us a lot, they want us to continue to live, to find meaning, to find purpose, to be able to impact other people, right? That's something that's driven me tremendously, even into this field, to do what I do. I connect with a lot of people who have had to grieve, because I have had to grieve so many times throughout my life, many more times than I wish to ever have to do. But I say that because that has given me, that's been a part of my purpose. It's like, let me take that loss that really hurts and find a way to use it to connect with other people who may have gone through similar circumstances, and also try to maybe give them some encouraging words that have also been given to me to uplift them, to find a reason to get up and get back to my life. And maybe that might give me a sense of purpose in terms of how I choose to make decisions in my life moving forward. Because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to honor the memory of that person by maybe doing things that they wanted to do, or doing things that we used to do together, or simply being the best person that I could be, because I'd like to believe that they would want that for us. Maybe somebody out there who has gone through that would agree with that statement. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Carlos.
That's beautifully said. I don't even know what to add to that. Thank you for sharing and being vulnerable. That's the whole reason we have these talks, so that we can be open and honest. And I appreciate you doing just that. I can only imagine that's not easy. A lot of the times we have to feel those feelings again. So I appreciate you for being open, honest, and vulnerable here. Like, especially in the public space. Appreciate it, and most importantly for using that as a tool and as a way to teach other people how to get through those hard situations that we will experience through life, that
Yes,
are
sir.
part of life, that are completely normal. And sometimes all it really takes is to make that shift. Not all it takes, but sometimes it really helps to make that shift in our mindset about, hey, what does moving forward look like? And what would that person want for me as well? So I appreciate you sharing that. I think that was beautifully said. Um,
Thank
and
you.
and I think that answers my question perfectly, because you literally used that uncomfortable situation as a way
Right.
to create your own personal growth. And that's what, if you take anything from this is what I want you to understand, that even those hard times, those are parts of your journey that allow you to create that growth, that allow you to move to the next level in your life, however that might look like. So beautiful. I
I,
appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. And I like the way you framed the question. That's why I tried to pick something that was kind of, that's very personal,
Mm,
because I think, a lot of people may be able to resonate with things like that. Because, sometimes you don't feel the motivation to want to grow or evolve. But I
mm,
think sometimes it's just changing the way we look at that situation. And that might give us some sense of, even maybe in a small way, it might give us some sense of encouragement to say, you know what? Even if actually, I'll say it one more different way. Even if you thought of, you think about what that person meant to you, and maybe
mm,
what you meant to them. I find it very unlikely that they would want you to just be kind of moping around, be sad all the time, not realizing your purpose, and just sort of being.
mm.
I find that very, very hard to believe that any person that loved you or cared about you would want that. I think they would want us to be the best versions of ourselves. And that's like my single greatest motivator, because that's how I try to conceptualize all those people that I have not had anymore, and you keep them in here.
Mm.
And
They're
you
with
say,
you.
no, I'm going to take that and I'm going to try to use that as fuel, because I think they would want me to do the best that I can do. And if I can maybe help somebody through using that pain, what a
Mm-hmm.
great way to honor their memory.
Wholeheartedly agree. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Like, just dropping gems. I see how it is. I see that's what we're doing today. That's what we're doing today. Okay. That's beautiful, bro. That's beautiful.
Hey,
Yeah,
hey,
100%.
shout out,
Yeah,
shout out, shout out to Jackie though. Like they put the question out there, so they put me in that kind of that mindset. So
he's
this is
awesome
all
like
this is
that.
all
He's awesome
authentic.
like
I'm only
that.
giving you what's really coming up right now.
I love it. I love it. Keeping it real though. Keeping it real. I love it, and authentic. That's what we're really here for. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, and like, you know that whatever hard time you're going through right now, this is really a learning opportunity for you. Because we spoke in the past, like whatever pain, suffering, or of even uncomfortability that you're dealing with is literally just a flag for you, something that we might need to work on, or something that you need to improve on. So it's important for us to use those times, and it's important for us to use those situations
Mhm.
to create growth. But it is a
Right,
choice. It is a choice, and we do have the power to dictate how we're going to perceive those situations. We could see them as, oh, this is the universe is conspiring against me. Like, this is the worst, everything like that. That's
right,
an
right.
option. That's an option. But we also have the option to decide, like, hey, like, how can I use this as a way to help someone else, or
Yeah,
how can I
yeah,
use this to even improve myself? Like that.
yes,
That's where really, like, a lot of the growth can occur, and a lot of the biggest growth has happened in my own life. So embrace that uncomfortability. Like, it really is. It's weird, but to even say sometimes, but it is. It really just shows you and helps you to understand a lot of parts of yourself that you might have
hmm,
even been hiding from. So
yeah, absolutely. To your point, there's a lot of power in that.
Yep.
It really does boil down to me in a lot of cases. It boils down to our mindset and how we choose to look at things. Like if there's one thing I
Mhm.
could say that really does make the difference for a vast majority of people, right? Something that you can always think from a practical standpoint, like we try to talk about here. It really boils down to how we choose to look at things. If I
Mhm.
know my natural way of looking at things is very negative, very pessimistic, very cynical, it's going to be really hard to find motivation to do things, right? Because I'm kind of pulling the rug out from underneath myself right off the bat, right? But then I have to go through a situation, and then I'm like, you know what? This is what I love to do. I give you a practical example. This is what I love to do in therapy. Somebody tells me a situation that they've gone through in the past, right? It was a situation that they have never done before.
Mm.
Somehow they found a way to overcome that challenge. So you know what I tell them? Why do you think this new situation, this new challenge would be any different? You just told me in the past you've had to overcome a situation that you had no prior knowledge or experience with. And yet, you are here today. So why do you think this new challenge, this new situation is any different than what you've been able to overcome in the past with very similar circumstances? And that's
Mm.
powerful because we forget that stuff. We forget that. We don't remember, oh, I have gone through adversity. I have asked for help. I have put myself in a better situation. Sometimes it doesn't click. But then somebody, that's the benefit of a therapist. When you sit down and you talk about it, and it's like, oh, wait, I did tell him that. Wait, I did do that. Wow. That's powerful. And I'm like, that's not me. Brother, that's you. Ma'am, that's you. You
Yeah.
did that. You should be proud of yourself. So all that comes with this change, right, that Carlos is pointing out, sitting in that discomfort, being willing to embrace those challenges. Change and growth, they're going to go hand in hand.
Mhm.
They're going to be right, it's sandwiched like an Oreo cookie. They're going to be
Yeah.
right there. But if I
Yeah.
go through and I eat that thing, man, imagine, where am I going to be a month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now? Where will you be? You can't even imagine. But if I have a more pessimistic outlook, I might say, I'm fearful of what that could be. But if I have an optimistic outlook, I might be like, damn, that's exciting. Where will I be?
Yes.
Right? It's
I
wild.
love it. I love that, and to even add on that, I like to look at both sides of the coin. I like to do pros and cons. Like, what
Mhm.
would I look like if I didn't? Like, what would
Right,
I look
right.
like a year if I just keep dragging this heavy sled with me forever and I just don't? What is my life going to look like? How is my mental health going to be doing? How's my physical health, spiritual health, anything? Like, how is that going to look like if I just keep pushing it off? Like, how is that going
Correct.
to look like? And once you make that contrast, it's a lot easier for you to like, oh yeah, actually this is just the logical perspective. Like this, I really just like let me sit down. And like there's this quote that I really like that it basically says every person should ask themselves, is this a friendly universe? And just go from there, because that's basically the difference between being optimistic or pessimistic. Like it's how are you looking at the universe? Do you feel like the universe is working with you or against you? And that's
Right.
a perspective and that's a choice for you to make and decide.
Hmm.
And we can decide, like, why not decide for the latter, where the universe is friendly and does want you to thrive and win and like go through this stuff so that you can become the best version of yourself. Because realistically, if you're going through a hard time, and you're like, oh, why is this happening to me? Honestly, the way that I like to think about it, like, I'm glad that it happened to me now. Because if it
Mm.
didn't happen to me now, then I'm probably gonna have to deal with it later because I don't have the tools yet to deal with it.
Facts.
So I'm like, oh,
Facts.
I'm glad that whatever struggle or issue I'm dealing with, whether it's financial, psychological, physical, whatever it might be, I literally embrace it. I'm like, oh, this is great. This is just something that I need to work on, something that I need to learn, so that I don't have to deal with it later on. And even and sometimes, like, you might get through it now, but if you don't really learn from it later on when it does pop up again, then you're gonna suffer again. It's
Yeah.
not like
Make the
it's
same
not
choices.
you make the same choices. And I
Yeah.
and I love, yeah, and I love the Oreo analogy as well, where I love Oreos, by the way. Where yeah, change and uncomfortable and growth like go hand in hand because you
Yeah,
like let's keep it real. Like if you want to grow, most likely you need to change. Like otherwise, you're most likely staying the same. If
correct.
you're staying the same, like um,
What are we doing?
what are you doing? What growth is really happening here?
We're just doing this.
You're doing this exactly.
What
When
what what is that?
realistically we want a clear like gradual growth.
Yeah, man.
Of course, like we prefer probably explosive growth, but like let's keep it real. Gradual is
Yeah.
sustainable, and gradual
Correct.
is it's actually something that we can like plan for even sometimes. So
You know what else is good about that too?
mhm,
When you talk about gradual growth, like you're pointing out, what's great about that? You appreciate the journey more.
yeah,
If you like, let's try to use like an example for like the platform, right?
yeah,
If I could give you Carlos, 100,000 followers tomorrow, or I could give you 1,000,
mm,
and then next week 2,000, and the week after that 3,000, and eventually it added up to 100,000, but it was a nice grind. You would appreciate the second example more
sure.
because you got to sit in it, just like all this embracing the uncomfortable that we were talking about. You appreciate the journey because you're like, damn, I was here. Now I'm here. Look at what happened over that period of time, right? That feels very, very different than, oh, I was here and then it just shot up. You're gonna look at that
You
and you might lose part of that, right?
yeah, you lose some of the gratitude towards like the actual outcome because if you go from 0 to 100 per se, like you're gonna be like, oh yeah, it's just 100,000. But like when you actually like were there for every single thousand, then you can actually experience and embrace a lot more gratitude throughout our process.
Oh
And
yeah.
and gratitude is powerful. I think I mentioned this in the past. Like we can only focus on one thing. Like it's impossible for you to be grateful and anxious. It's impossible for you to be grateful and angry. So if we can
Facts.
experience that when you do get like 100,000 or whatever, then you can actually like, oh wow, this means a lot to me. Like I know how much um, it took for me to get there,
Right.
or whatever it
Right.
was. So it increases the amount of gratitude you can experience in your own life.
Yeah.
That's a fulfilling life right there. Like,
And, and you hit a buzzword there right there. You said fulfillment. How many people? I mean, I can ask this question. How many people are walking around fulfilled?
woo! Oh, we need to do a research study on that.
Like that's a whole. We'll say
We
that.
need
That's
to
a whole
do a
other
research
episode. It's
study
like
on that.
that's a real question though
Yeah, for
for a lot
real.
of people. Like, but anyway, we'll table that part. I did want to mention one more thing to what
Yeah.
you were mentioning earlier though. When you talk about overcoming these challenges and like your outlook, right? If is the universe helping me or is it against me? What I would say also for those of us that are come from minority groups or we're from marginalized groups, right? That includes women, people from the LGBTQ plus community. Think about it like this. Many of us know there's already certain maybe there are injustices, there are hurdles, barriers to entry for different things that we want to get involved with, right? Could be school, careers, relationships, laws being favorable to us, what have you. We can take that a lot of different ways. So we know there's certain things that are already inherently against us, right?
Mm.
Going back to Carlos's point a moment ago, if I think also that the world is against me, that the universe is against me, what I'm also doing is I'm creating another barrier and another hurdle that I have to get over. So let me take a step back there. I was saying we all already know there's certain things that we already have to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
right? That we as individuals don't get to fundamentally change at this moment in time. So we all have to learn how to overcome them and be resilient. Why would I want to? It's just a question. Why would I want to artificially create another one that I have to get over? Would you have a response to that, Carl?
That's 100% fair. Like, no, that literally, like you said, it's an obstacle that we're creating for ourselves. Like, it even from a logical standpoint, like, okay, so if you're running a race and you're just basically, all right, let me put a pothole in here, like,
Let me go flat my
or
tire real quick.
yeah, that's it's just even from a logical standpoint, like make that, because that journey of healing,
Hmm.
the journey of that work, it's already difficult. It's already challenging, right? So why make it even more challenging by giving yourself more obstacles, by giving yourself more barriers to jump over?
Yes.
Let's make it like let's make it as easy as possible for us to go through that healing, to do that work, so that the work itself can happen more consistently, so that we can stay on that path, so that we can continue to do that healing, and create that gradual growth that we're looking for. Because like
Absolutely.
the whole point of the gradual like growth part is it's about us consistently staying on that grind, consistently doing that shadow work, consistently showing up for ourselves. If
Hmm.
we're doing that like, oh, I'm gonna meditate, every 2 weeks, oh, and once a month, oh, every 2 days, and like just jumping back and forth, like it it can be really difficult to create that gradual healing that's gonna get us to that next level of whatever that might look like for you.
Yeah. No.
So
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
I love I just love the metaphors and the similes and everything that you use. Like, I'm a very visual learner, and I love that stuff because it really does stick in your brain, and it really does help you to like really visualize what that work looks like, and the
Yeah.
hurdles that we create for ourselves that we don't have to create for ourselves. And talking
Yeah.
about have to as well, because I know a lot of sometimes it's just even getting started on doing that healing that's difficult. That's something that I
Yeah.
teach a lot of the people that I work with, is that you don't have to do the inner work. You get to be so that important change and verbiage really helps you, because right when you start telling yourself like, oh, I have to do this shadow work, oh, I have to do this meditation so I can get through this trauma or whatever, it becomes an obligation. So
Right.
eventually it's hard to maintain because you're basically forcing yourself to do it. But when you
Correct.
move to I get to, and you can be grateful. Like, what do you mean I get to like feel my trauma again? Yeah, you get to. Like, you get to get through these feelings, you get to feel all those emotions, you get to feel
Yeah.
the whole range of human emotions, you get to feel like a true full life, you get to feel
Yeah.
all of it. It's a
And
blessing, and at the end of the day, like, yeah,
appreciate them, like you're saying.
yeah,
Appreciate the
appreciate it.
whole range and the spectrum of them.
Exactly. It's that you feel me. You feel me. That's exactly, yeah. That's exactly it. Like, we get to appreciate all of it. We get to
Yeah.
appreciate all of it. Um, but let's talk a little bit more about from a practical standpoint. How can we
Yeah.
go about embracing the uncomfortable?
Well, I would say I definitely try to always model like the
Mm,
behavior, right?
yes.
Like the behavior I'm trying to help other people to do, like I got to make sure I'm doing it too, right? So my example number one would be for those of you that were watching earlier, you saw me do it. Like you watched me do it a moment ago when I was talking about my loss in response to somebody commenting. And I say that because it might look simple, but it's not actually. It actually required a lot of therapy, a lot of time really working at it. It's not very simple to sit with somebody and like bare your soul, right? And show these really vulnerable, painful, difficult parts of your existence. It's very difficult. It's never lost on me as a therapist that like somebody comes in and they are willing to share the most deepest painful parts of themselves. It's never lost upon me. I always have the utmost respect because it is damn hard to do so. I've been on the other side many times. I know. But the
Yep.
point is, it's part of it, like you were talking about a moment ago, right? Visualizing it. Part of it is you got to see it. You need to see it. So I'm going to make sure that I'm doing it. I'm not just telling people. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing it because it makes it feel right, less uncomfortable, right? We know we've talked about it before. I'm going to say it again. We talk about journaling.
Mm,
Journaling is very important because sometimes, to going back to the metaphor about the dragging the sled, I need to know what's on the sled. I can't embrace the thing that I don't know. I can't address the thing that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to identify what are those things that I'm running from, that I'm afraid of, that I don't tell anybody. What are they? That's where journaling can come in, because I need to reflect on it. What is it? Let me take some time and try to figure that out. Then I can ask myself, okay, this was the situation. This is what I've gone through. Going back to Jackie's example. I lost a loved one. I lost a parent. I feel sad. Maybe I feel depressed. Well, what's it in relation to? I lost somebody important. Is that okay? Hell yeah, it's okay. Yes, it's absolutely okay. It's normal. So I'm identifying what's going on there. Now that I've identified it, let me sit in it. Why does it make me sad? Why? Because I miss them.
Mm.
I miss them so much, it hurts every day. I have to learn to be okay sitting in that, understanding, yes, they're not physically here. And if for those of you that are religious or you follow any type of faith-based institution, you can lean in on your faith. If you're spiritual, you can lean on your spirituality. Or if you're just person-centered like myself, maybe you put your faith in people. I still believe good things are going to come from life just because I had to have this painful experience. Right? So I had to go through those motions. That's like practical step by step. That's what would happen. I got to figure out where those issues are coming from. I probably need to journal so it'll help me identify what those things are. Then I have to be willing to sit in it so I can figure out what is the actual feeling that I'm experiencing. What is it at the root, at the core? If it's a valid feeling, brother, sister, sit in it.
Yep.
Sit in it. Do not run. If you need to cry, cry. If it pains you, it's okay. If you need support, ask. Can you get on this call with me? I can't be on camera with you right now. Can you just listen to me? Yeah, that's fine. Surround ourselves with people who will allow us to feel those things. It's very, very important. It's extremely, extremely important. If you can go through those parts of the steps, like we were talking about earlier, then the change will come. Because eventually, it's not that I forget about it or it doesn't bother me anymore. It stings a little bit less, no doubt. But I find different reasons to sort of transform that feeling. Instead of it immediately making me sad and hurt, I'm like, we talked about earlier, now maybe I feel a little more inspired. I feel a little more motivated. That's what I tried to model to you guys a little bit ago. I've tried to take so much of my personal pain and let it fuel me with an unrelenting desire to try to help other people. That to me is like my sole purpose for being here in everything that I do. So I hope that we can all find different ways to take those experiences, to take whatever it is that we go through and sort of metamorphosize it, change it through this process that we're talking about. So maybe it benefits you more importantly in the outcome, but maybe you get to benefit somebody else too, man. Wouldn't that be awesome? If you can help be a part of somebody else's evolution in their journey.
What you just said is truly the definition of embracing the uncomfortable. Literally, from a technical and practical standpoint, that's what embracing the uncomfortable is all about. It's really allowing for that metamorphosis, like you said, to happen, giving yourself the required necessary time that you need to make that shift and allow yourself to turn pain into empowerment, to turn pain into growth and suffering into healing. And that's the whole point of embracing the uncomfortable. That's the reason we're here on this call today, because we want you to understand that all of those moments have power within them. It's up to us to really find that power that's in those moment situations that we might experience through life, and that I can assure you, you most likely will continue to experience in your life. And it's all about how we deal with those situations when they come up. Because hard times will happen eventually. If you haven't had a hard time, you probably will have one later on, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
but we do have the responsibility, and most importantly, we have the power to deal with those situations accordingly. So
Yes,
use
very
that
important.
uncomfortability. Definitely, I challenge you to use that uncomfortability as a catalyst to create true change in your life and create true healing that you can share not only with yourself, but with the people around you.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That to me is one of the greatest ways. You talk about transforming.
Mm,
That to me is one of the greatest ways, almost the most purest way to transform some of the most hurtful pain you can experience into
mm,
something beautiful. Truly. It's like take the thing, like again, we're talking about our example, this running example is losing a loved one.
mm,
That's some of the most painful experience you're ever going to go through in your life. I'm not saying that it minimizes anything else, but I'm just, we need to be real here. It's
mm.
probably going to be one of those painful experiences you have. For those of you that haven't lost a parent or, God forbid, a child or a friend, it's going to be one of those experiences we know inevitably we all going to face, right? But if I can find a way to take some meaning from that and let me connect with somebody else and maybe help them deal with whatever they're dealing with at that time, you have no idea how amazing you're going to feel being able to be there for somebody, but also just in your own life, seeing how you transition from that one point to another. I was so hurt. I didn't want to get out of bed.
Mm,
I was so anxious. I didn't leave my house. Right? People go through these experiences. But I'm trying to take what I've gone through, take those challenging experiences, all that come with it. I want to put it to something positive. It doesn't happen overnight, but I want to take it. I want to utilize it, let it fuel me. Maybe I can benefit other people while we're talking on this call today. Maybe it helps me with like another family member who may be struggling in a similar way because we're maybe all going through a similar version of this, especially in the era of COVID. Like I'm sure a lot of people have gone through that experience. I think that sometimes we undercut the value and the importance of that. So
mm,
I challenge everybody to truly give themselves that space and that opportunity to sit in those feelings. I don't care how uncomfortable they are. A lot of times they're necessary, right? Depression is something we're all going to experience.
mm,
Anxiety is something we are all going to experience at various
mm,
points throughout our life. It
mm.
doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you fundamentally. It doesn't mean you're fundamentally a broken person. It just means it is a response to something. It's a response to something. So if you felt that, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. But it does mean my body's trying to tell me I need to address this. I
Mhm.
need to do something about it because I don't want to stay in this mental and emotional space forever. I don't want to drag another brick in this sled for the rest of my life,
I'm trying to
right?
sprint. I'm trying to sprint.
Right.
Like
I'm trying to
I'm trying
run.
to, I'm trying
I'm
to
trying to run
run.
out of here, man. I don't want to
Yeah.
have to keep dealing with this stuff. I don't want to bring
Exactly.
all this baggage, right? Usually people understand it in terms of baggage. I don't want to keep bringing this baggage into like my relationships and into my job and my friends and relationship with my kids. I'm tired, right? I'm tired. I don't want to deal with it no more. Let's give ourselves a space. Let's actually attack it. But the first step, the purpose of the call is you have to be willing to sit in it. Do not think you can get past that part. There's no way. Trust me. If I could tell you the secret solution, I would tell you right now. I don't want any of you to feel that pain. Trust me.
Right.
But
Mm.
I don't know of a way. We have to go through it. And it's okay. It's a natural part of our existence on this planet. But it does matter how we choose to look at it. I can get defeated. I can put that hurdle in front of me. And guess what? I jumped over all the other ones that I couldn't control. I made it over all of them. But that one that I put in front of me, I tripped on it. I
Mm.
fell. Now I'm struggling to finish the race. My ankles, my shins all banged up. Now I'm like, man, do I want to run anymore? I got like 800 more meters. I don't know if I can do it anymore. How about I just don't put that hurdle there in the first place? Then I don't have to trip over it. Right?
Yeah, and from even from a applied behavior analysis standpoint, like from behavior analysis, there's this term that we use called basically response effort. Like decrease your response effort, meaning that make it easier for you to engage in those behaviors that are gonna help you do that healing. So if you're trying to do like, for example, if you're trying to do some meditation, like where and you're in a public place where everyone's yelling and doing all that stuff, pushing on you, like it's going to be a lot more difficult. So find a
Oh
time
yeah.
that works best for you. Like again, like maybe it's in the morning. Maybe like you're a busy parent. You don't have like time in the morning. Find another time throughout the day that works best for you to decrease that response effort, to make it easier for you to go through like that race and basically remove those hurdles from your path to make it
Yes.
easier for you to get to that finish line, which is just FYI, there's no finish line. There's no finish line. This
Finish
is
line is life.
this is that value that we work towards. Like when you values is not something that you're like, oh, I reached it, I made it. No, it's something that you constantly work for and work
Yeah.
towards. So it's something that's important to remember. And even if you need another reason to do this shadow work, to do this basically this inner work and sit through your feelings and really feel your feelings. We're all living in this really busy society right now. A lot of us are tired. A lot of us are exhausted. This is going to help you have more energy because
Mhm.
you're a lot of the energy that we're investing into basically time traveling is what I call it when I talk to my kiddos. Like you're living in the past or worrying about the future. You're time traveling. You can use a lot of that energy to bring it back to the present moment. And that's going to give you a lot more energy to live here now and figure out what you can do now that's in front of you that's going to help you get to where you want to be and move
Yeah.
closer to your values. Gain that you can gain a lot of that energy back. Yeah, like it might take 50 minutes of your day or however long you might need. Some people need an hour meditation, or
Mhm.
some people need like 3 hours of journaling. Some people need a lot of people need a lot of hours of therapy. Uh, but
Oh, yeah.
but
Right.
the whole point is that that's going to literally give you back a lot of that energy that you're giving to something that's not serving you. That's what I'm trying to
Yes.
say here. So
Very
gain that
important point.
energy back by putting some effort in now, so that you can actually release some of that and bring some of that energy back to the present moment. Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that really matters. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. Even
Nope.
the top billionaires and scientists in the world don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And what happened in the past happened in the past. So the
Right.
only thing that we can really focus on and make an actual change in is the now. And in the now we have two options. We can either do something about it or accept it as it is. That's up to us. And like I mean, there's sometimes some things that you just have to accept as they are. Like that's like me
Absolutely.
like, oh my hair, like, oh I wish my hair was like, like flaccid and all that stuff. No, I'm gonna accept it and embrace my hair for as nappy as it is and like all of that stuff and
Mhm.
really find gratitude in that as well. Or like I can do something about it maybe and like, get my hair done, get like what's that? My mom used to do this stuff, I don't know what it's called, but like they get it all straightened out or whatever.
Oh,
I'm not trying to
the
do that.
relaxers,
Yeah.
chemical
Uh,
relaxer. Yeah.
Exactly that. I wasn't trying to do that. She told me he's tongue, so I'm not about it. But overall, like we do have that choice, and usually, one of the best things we could do is come back to the present moment. A
Yeah.
lot of the
Yeah.
anxiety that our communities experience is because they're time traveling. They're literally living in the past or worrying about the future. When
Hmm.
you feel like that you're in that situation, you're concerned about like, oh, like what am I gonna do next month? Like, where you're doing all of that and like basically living the anxiety of the future that hasn't even happened yet. I
There you
highly,
go.
I highly suggest coming back to the present moment and even just being grateful for what's around you, being grateful for your body. That's really going to
Mhm.
allow you to really experience the beauty that's around you now.
Yeah.
And also
Yeah.
going to open up opportunities for you in the future because sometimes you get so attached to an outcome that we create it. Like we create that outcome when there could have been a lot of other situations and avenues that we could have taken, but we're so attached to one outcome that we make it happen.
Yes. Yeah. No, I want to add to that last part. In therapy, we call that a self-fulfilling prophecy. If
Ooh,
if
love those.
if you if you tell yourself this is going to happen, I'll give like the most basic example I usually tell myself. So like if you roll over, let's imagine it's first thing in the morning, and you roll out of bed, and you're like, man, this day is about to suck.
Mm,
You better believe that your day ain't going well. It's
no.
not because you had a bad day. It's
Mm,
because you set the tone and the expectation that the day was not going to go well. That's the power of your mind.
yeah.
So if you put yourself in a situation, you can convince yourself, this is what it looks like. Therefore, this is what it is. But that doesn't actually mean that that's what it is.
Mm,
That's just what you're convincing yourself of. So I always like to link that to like talking about like our bias, right? Our personal implicit bias. It is
mm,
quite strong, and it will make you think things that are true that are not. It will make you think things that are real that are not. So it's important, again, to give yourself that space to focus on the present, because Carlos made the best point there. If I'm constantly thinking about the future, not only am I missing opportunities to connect with real people now, or real opportunities now, or personal development now, but I'm wasting a lot of my emotional capacity, which is finite. It is finite. You don't have unlimited emotional capacity every day, for those
but,
of you that don't know. It's limited, it's capped out. You got to replenish it. I'm burning it all on things that are out of my control, as you said, because I can't influence it right now. And that ends up, in some cases, prohibiting me or scaring me away from actualizing opportunities that might be in front of me right now. Right? And then some people live in the future, some people live in the past, some people live in both. We go back to the sled, right?
mm,
Imagine if anybody's ever put on a weight vest before. Imagine you have like a 20-pound weight vest on, right? Like let's say you get out of your house, you get ready to get in your car, you put on a weight vest. It's 20, 25 pounds. That weight represents your pain. It represents your trauma, right? You doing some of the things that we've touched on today and we've touched on in the past, you're removing little pieces of that weight. I'm connecting this to what Carlos said earlier with the track analogy, right? I'm going to be able to move faster. I'm going to be able to get to where I'm trying to go more quickly, meaning growing into the person I want to become, the parent I want to become, the lover I want to become, the friend I want to become, the entrepreneur, the employee, the student, whatever we're talking about. Actualizing, becoming this person I want to be. I'm making it easier because
mm,
I'm taking all the weight out. I'm not free myself. I don't want to drag this no more, right? If anybody's haven't done that, like try it. If you've never done it, put a weight vest on, even just a 5-pound weight. Put it
mm.
on. Walk around for an hour. Take it off. You will feel the difference. I
100%.
assure you, you will feel the difference. It will feel like freeing. You're like, this is easy. Walking, this is light work. I can do this all day, right? That's what it can feel like emotionally. To Carlos's point, it makes it emotionally easier to be more motivated, to be more encouraged, to be more focused, to do all the other things that I want to do with my life.
Mm,
I want that for all of us,
yeah.
right? Support it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. We can all work towards this, and we can all really take that weight that weight vest off. Um,
Yeah.
and sometimes like the best way for us to do it is gradually, like you said, just take a weight at a time. Like like okay, a little bit. I'm on 20 pounds, and like just work through that, and like eventually, again, to bring it back to what I said before, you gain more energy. You start doing even more than you were able to do
You
before.
will.
You're like, oh wow, yeah, that's because you literally, physically, and mentally have more energy.
Yes.
That's literally not being wasted. I don't even like using the word waste, but like, if it's not being used to get you to move closer to your values, then it's low key a waste. Um,
Yeah.
it's low key a waste. So why waste one of the most valuable resources we have, which is our or energy and our attention, and
Yes.
when we can actually like use it and to something that's actually going to get us to where we want to be, it's going to help us become that person that we want to become and move and achieve the things that we want to achieve.
Yes. Very important. Very, very,
For,
very important. And I wanna add one last thing in talking
all right.
about, like, again, like, just the importance of what we're saying here. If I allow myself to sit in that discomfort, right? To go through all the different feelings that come with whatever challenge I'm facing. It's not just about how I'm using that to move forward, right? It's also like, you got to think about it like this. I'm also helping myself build up like an emotional armor.
Mm,
When I have to go through future difficult experiences, which we all will, whether you want to or not. Believe it or not, you're actually making it easier to learn how to overcome those future situations that you don't even know when they're going to come. You don't even know, because they're gonna, that's life. It just throws stuff at us, and we have to, we have to,
yeah.
we have to respond, not react. We have to respond.
Mm,
But if I learn how to deal with a lot of these different challenges, if I learn to shift my thinking and my perspective a little bit, that's going to help build me up in such a way that when a new situation presents itself, you're like, you know what? I was talking with Carlos about this last time, and he pointed out that I dealt with something similar, even though it was really hard for me. I think I can do it again. I believe I could do it again. And that might be a pivotal step in my journey between me actualizing sooner, being on my path, meeting my purpose, whatever, however you want to say that. Becoming the person that I want to become. That's making it easier to get there, right? That's the importance, the whole point, bringing it all back together. That's the importance of learning to embrace being uncomfortable, dealing with those emotions, not being afraid and running from all that stuff. You're actually going to do yourself a disservice in the future, because you're not going to understand how to deal with those challenges in the future. You're going to look back and say, that thing broke me.
mm-hmm.
How the hell am I going to deal with this one?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even figure out how to deal with the last one.
So it just stacks up. It just keeps building on
Right.
each other. Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's like a very bad game of Jenga. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, I don't want to play this game anymore, man. This is not like, I pull it one little thing, my whole thing falls apart. I don't want to
Start
play this
messing with
game.
people. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like, this is not the vibe. This is not the vibe.
Right.
I want to put myself in the position and say, no, this is going to help me so much more in the future. I'm building myself up to develop resiliency.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what resiliency is, it's helping you bounce back through failure or through adversity. Going back to Jackie's point, losing a loved one is adversity. Losing a job, adversity. Relationship, adversity. All of those scenarios, I have to learn to embrace being uncomfortable, because it's inherently uncomfortable. It just is,
Yep.
right? So I have to find a way. I have to find a way to manage that. That's the purpose of why we're talking about this. So I hope that I've said it maybe in a few different ways that it will resonate with some of you that may not have known that before.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you put that in such a beautiful package, like a little. Here you go. Here's this gem. Like here's this gem. That's perfect. That's perfect. I personally resonate with that myself, and I think it's so important for a lot of our communities to understand the value of those of really embracing those uncomfortable feelings. So when they do show up later on, we can handle them better. That's the whole point.
Yes,
Like
sir.
really, we embracing the uncomfortable as 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 tough as it might be at the beginning, it really does help you become a stronger person. And
Yes.
sometimes it is scary, but bravery is doing something scared. You are brave, but maybe like the general population and society might not like, oh, label you meditated and cried through those feelings. Oh my God, how's that brave? That is brave. That is truly what brave is. The fact that you
Mm-hmm.
sat through that, the fact that you worked through that, that is what bravery is all about. And just by you giving yourself that time to deal with those feelings, to feel those uncomfortable emotions, to feel that trauma. It shows how brave you are. And once you do it one time, then remind
Mhm.
yourself this. You can remind yourself of this one simple sentence: "I can do hard things." Like, wow,
Yes.
I did something hard. I can do
Powerful.
hard things. Yeah, that's it.
Powerful. Powerful.
There you
You're
go. It's
absolutely right, man.
I
Absolutely right.
I appreciate you. But thank you so much for everyone that jumped on this call. I love how interactive it was and how everyone was also vulnerable with us, sharing some of your
Yeah.
experiences and stuff that you're
Thank you for
dealing with.
that.
This is the reason we're doing this. This is all about community, about being there for each other, supporting each other, using our own experiences and our own knowledge to really help each other deal with uncomfortable situations and do it in a way that we're not reactive but responsive and like we're responding to the situations better. We can do better, and it all really starts with us. So thank you
Yeah.
for anyone that jumped on this live, and thank you for anyone watching the recording of this. Because just by doing this and listening to these conversations, I can assure you, at least for me, 2 years ago, this would have made me uncomfortable. So just listening and really exposing yourself to this kinds of conversations,
Hmm.
it's really you choosing you and embracing that uncomfortability and really loving yourself for this hour that this call was. And that's how it starts. You can do hard things. You might actually even get distracted through this. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go do something else. If you brought yourself back and you kept watching it, and that's really you doing something hard,
Yeah.
because the brain wants you to be comfortable. Like think of the Matrix. Like the brain wants if it was up to if it was up to the brain, you have a VR attached to your eyes, a tube going down your throat, like literally a reproductive machine attached to you, and you'll be on the couch doing nothing. That's what it wants. It wants comfortability. But
Yeah.
being comfortable is not going to help you grow. It's not going to help you become a better version of yourself. It's not going to help you reach a lot of the milestones that you most likely wanting to reach. So embrace that uncomfortability. Find the beauty within it, and understand that we get to do this work. We don't have to do it. You don't.
Correct.
Like I said, you can give y'all and like literally eat like whatever you want to eat or whatever. But by being uncomfortable and putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations, I know I'm a really big rap lover, and I know Big Sean says like I put myself against the wall. Like he like really just
Facts.
put yourself literally like against the wall. Put yourself in those uncomfortable situations so that when something unexpected happened, like RJ said, you have the emotional capacity and ability to deal with it.
Hmm.
So
No,
yeah,
I agree, man. I think that was well said. You got to give yourself the space to sit in those feelings. You got to be willing to sit in that discomfort. I can assure you, it gets better. It gets better for anybody who's like in the middle of that, and you're not sure, and you're afraid, or you're
hmm
avoiding.
hmm
It gets better, but you got to be willing to do the work. You have to give yourself the space. Nobody deserves it more than you.
yeah,
Nobody.
fact.
So because we have to prioritize ourselves number one, right? That's how we say, well, I got to be number one to myself. Doesn't mean I don't care about other people. It just means I got to be
hmm
number one to me. So I'm well. So that means I will give myself that space. I will sit in that discomfort. I will go through these processes, and we're trying to outline them in these different calls. These are, I'm gonna try to bring this in as we continue on, but like there's steps. This is very intentional. What Carlos and I are talking about. There's actually a methodology and an order to this. These aren't just random topics that are coming up right now. There's a reason why we're doing them in the order that we're doing them. I can assure you. So please understand that if you are watching that, you're giving the attention. So now we need to get from attention. Let's go start shifting over to action. Let's start giving ourselves that space to say, I'm going to start putting in the effort. I'm going to give myself this time here. I'm going to make sure I'm addressing this thing. Because if I do, I don't have to be where I'm at today. Today can truly stay right where it is. Tomorrow can be better than today, and then the next day can be better than that. If I'm willing to start putting in the work now.
Beautifully said, King. Beautiful said. And honestly, like I'm currently working on getting all of this on YouTube as well and creating a playlist so you can literally go step by step and listen to every call. And like sometimes, honestly, sometimes listen to something a second time
Yes.
teaches something new because it's a new you that's actually listening to it. It's actually, you'll discover something new about yourself. You actually might listen to something that you missed the first time that might help
Right.
you. So definitely, if you were live in the past and on past calls, like I highly recommend going back to a couple other calls and looking through and saying, hey, let me listen to this again, because you might not even might you most likely will learn something new every time. We try to really use different examples and different verbiage and like give you
Yeah.
different tools so that you can have that diversity, so you can play around a little bit and figure out what works best for you.
Yes.
Because what I work for RJ might not work for me, and the same thing vice versa, and the same thing for you. That's why
Mhm.
we give you multiple different tools that you can use. That's why we give you multiple different stories so you can connect with us and connect with what we're saying in a different way. Um,
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I mean, and I like that you said that. I mean, I think we're trying to put this out in many different places so people can see it, and
mhm,
because exposure is very important.
right.
Again, shout out to all of you that are here because you chose to expose yourself to this today, and that's awesome. Because hopefully you're getting a certain amount of encouragement from this. This may give you a little spark of motivation. I hope that it feeds you.
Mhm.
I hope it nourishes you to want to do more, to want to prioritize yourself. Like that to me is always an important aspect of anybody's journey, right? Because again, life is not static. It's not a straight line. We know we're going
Mhm.
to do all this, riding these waves, right? So we have to build up that sense of resiliency, and it's the only way we're going to be able to do that is we've got to sit through the discomfort.
And
Yes.
honestly, if you go back to the first episode, we talked about how even doing this live is uncomfortable for us. But
Oh yeah.
this is our way to pour into you so that you can see the value in pouring into yourself. So
Yes.
please
Very important.
pour into yourself. Please pour
Please.
into
Yeah.
yourself.
Yes.
You're making the
If
world
you,
a better
Yeah,
place.
no. If we take anything from this, it's like yes, we
Yeah.
need to give to our. I always say we got to give to ourselves first. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with doing that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Then it'll be easier to navigate all these other different things that we have to deal with. So please, if you've taken anything away from any of these calls,
Yeah.
give yourself that space to work through those things, and you are worth that. You're at least worth that much. I don't care what anybody says. You're at least worth that much to put in that effort, and
Mhm.
just you might not be able to imagine, but I talking to a professional here, life does get better. If we tackle these issues, I can assure you they will not stay the same. The only way they stay the same, and Carlos already said it earlier, is if you do nothing.
Yeah.
Only if you do nothing will you stay in the same position with the same circumstances. Right? And we do not want that. We don't support that.
Let's stop living on autopilot. Let's live an intentional life, guys. Like we have that choice. We can't continue to live on autopilot, but then you're gonna get to you're basically gonna reach a destination that does not create it for you. So why not live an intentional life and create the life that you want to live? We do have that power, and we do have, and we are able to, and we are blessed to have that choice. So choose wisely. Choose wisely, like J. Cole said. Choose wisely. That's bring it back to rap. You know I'm out here.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, thank you so much, RJ. I appreciate you. My
Thank
guy
you,
RJ is literally in Asia right now. It's like almost it's 1 a.m. out there, and he's really just
man.
pouring into your community anyway because it's bigger than us. It's really bigger than us. It's we're not doing this for like oh, I want to be Instagram famous. None of that. We're really doing this to pour into our community. So thank you, RJ. I appreciate you really
Yes, man.
giving so much of yourself for our community and pouring so much of yourself into the community. I appreciate you. And I'm really excited for the following calls. We have many calls coming as well. Like I said, it's going to
Yes.
be on YouTube. I'm creating a guide on Instagram as well, so you can have an outline on my own Instagram and on YouTube and all that stuff, so you can follow along and really just get all of those gems that you might have missed the first time, that you might have missed if you didn't catch the live, and
Yes.
know that we're doing this with the intention of helping our communities heal and really. like really just step into their light and find the beauty that's within every single one of us. You
Hmm.
deserve it. You deserve to pour into yourself. Like I just say, it doesn't matter what anyone says. It doesn't matter what you might have read on a book or social media or whatever. It
Yeah.
You matter. You matter. So take care of yourself. Pour into yourself first. And by doing that, you're making the world a better place.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. And then allow yourself to surround yourself with the type of information and the content that helps nourish that and feed that as well, right? So Carlos is doing that type of work. I'm doing this type of work, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I put out this type of content as well. Like, if you
Mhm.
need that, look for it, seek it out. It will help you. That's the whole reason why I even do this, because I know
Mhm.
that people need to hear that. And I know that I needed to hear that at different points in life, but there wasn't anybody out there doing this. So it's good
Mhm.
to surround yourself with that type of information and that type of exposure. It will help you while you're learning to deal with and wrestle some of those challenging moments when you want to quit, when you really want to be like, F it, I'm walking away, I don't want to deal with it anymore. You might need to hear some encouraging words from other people who have had to go through similar experience. So also just try to put yourself around like-minded individuals or expose yourself to content and information that will further your own growth and development, because we're putting out
Mhm.
that type of stuff. So check us out on whatever platforms we're on, and then maybe that'll help you as you continue to grow.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you so much for taking the time, RJ, and jumping on here. I appreciate you. I am very much looking forward for the next topics that we're going to be talking about. They're spicy, guys. So definitely stay tuned. We're gonna be having some really fun conversations, necessary conversations. I know I said this in every single call. They're literally necessary. Like
Hmm.
our community is not having these talks enough. So we do this so that we can make this like literally just common, so we can have these conversations more often, so that we can erase that uncomfortability more often, because that's going to make us
Yeah.
more resilient. It's going to make us really just stronger individuals. So thank you for everyone listening. Thank you for everyone watching the recording of this. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yes.
Ajay, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful night's sleep. I'm going to get
Thank
my
you.
day started and everything. I appreciate you. And
All
yeah,
right, man.
it's
Well,
all
no,
love, peace, and queens. You already know.
we'll catch you guys around on the flip side.
We'll be out here. We'll be out here for sure. See you next time.
All right, man. I'll talk to you guys later.
For sure. Take care.